Right now, we have a lot of smart money and intelligent crypto whales, also corporate investors that are acquiring XRP. They're putting money into Ripple and XRP. Whereas in parallel and in contrast, in big contrast, actually, we have a lot of retail investors that I'll give you my editorial here. My opinion is that they're getting distracted and they're wasting time on meme coins and certain low quality AI tokens. And we have to remember that all the way up until probably mid-October of last year, 2024, holding XRP was pretty lame. It was not an exciting asset. The token was very much stuck in like a multi-year cycle, actually, a multi-market cycle. However, ever since, and as we've all seen, XRP has rallied very, very hard. Something has now come up that personally I'll say has flipped my perspective on the project even more. Things are looking better than ever. As per CoinGecko, XRP is actually up, get this, 122,000%, going back over 10 years to its all-time low since 2014. So 122,000% since then. That means we've effectively seen a very solid decade of building and doing the right things. And so it's probably a great time to ask ourselves, now that the momentum is back on XRP's side, if you buy 1,000 XRP today, which will, by the way, cost you several $1,000s, what could it be worth potentially next year at the end of this bull cycle in 2026 and then beyond? Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest. Maybe that's into XRP. Maybe that's into some of the other altcoins that we like to talk about and that are favorites of ours. Whatever the case may be, I genuinely wish you well. But just remember, I am not a financial or investment advisor, which means by extension, this video is not official financial or investment advice. So as always, there's a lot happening in the news when it comes to Ripple XRP. And I think it's probably most suitable to begin with a discussion of the SEC lawsuit because, of course, this has been for years really one of the biggest news stories surrounding XRP. Also in crypto more broadly because, of course, it has indirect influence and impacts and consequences. And here we are seemingly at the end of this lawsuit with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
So why did the SEC drop its appeal against Ripple? I think the real question is, why did they bring the case at all? The SEC has not only dropped its appeal against Ripple, they've now dropped every case against every crypto company in the United States. Why? Because the SEC has now admitted what we've always been saying, that you can't bring enforcement actions for violating the law without first explaining what the law is, and we never had clear laws, rules, and regulations regarding crypto in this country. So we're going to clean up the mess, we're going to get out of the courtroom, we're going to get back to running business, and we're going to now press forward, working with Congress to get smart crypto regulation in place that protects consumers, that protects the integrity of the market, that keeps bad actors out, and most importantly, allows the innovation to flourish.
We have to remember that the lawsuit started all the way back in December of 2020, so about 4.5 years ago, and lasted until this month, July of 2025. Both Ripple and the SRC expressed interest in dropping their appeals. The whole thing was just exhausting and dragging, I guess, for both parties in the end. And the whole thing just manifested in a 5-year-long legal drama. However, we do have to remember that there was still this surprising twist whereby Ripple still needs to pay $125 million. Judy Torres denied their request to lower this to $50 million. But look, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be a problem. Ripple, if they want, can sell some of their 40 billion XRP that it governs. It's going to easily cover that sum of money, whatever the case may be, whatever that exact sum is going to be in the end. And also, this is not the first time that Ripple gets blasted for dumping on its community. In a recent move, maybe this is something that you noticed, but we saw co-founder Chris Larson, who found himself in, I guess, an unwanted spotlight. He was getting a lot of negative attention because it seems that he dumped for $200 million worth of XRP during this month. In other project news, we also saw that Ripple applied for a U.S. national bank charter with the OCC, that is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And if approved, Ripple will have regulation in the same form as banks, the way they have regulation on both federal and state level. There's Also more to it, however. Ripple's CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, mentioned that Ripple applied for a Fed master account. This would specifically give Ripple full banking privileges, and it will have direct access to the Federal Reserve. That means there's no more need for a proxy or a bank. Ripple will be the bank, effectively, if approved. So I think this is one of the least likely outcomes. But just as a thought experiment, we have to consider that if approved, this would be a lot bigger than being granted the OCC charter. But it's possible. And most importantly, this allows Ripple to issue stablecoins. This is how the Genius Act defines it. Now, this would give a huge boost to their RLUSD stablecoin because, and I'm just being candid, but in all honesty, it's not doing all that well and does need a boost. That could very much come in the form of this U.S. National Bank Charter application and subsequent, perhaps, approval. Currently, we see that 83% of RLUSD operates on Ethereum, and then the other 17% is on the XRP ledger, the XRPL. So that's not a good balance. RLUSD also only has a $577 million market cap, which ranks it only 15th as measured by market caps. It also only has 497 active addresses using it. But again, approval of this application is going to greatly strengthen RLUSD's regulatory position. Obviously, there's also a lot going on here in terms of XRP ETFs. In this particular sector, XRP is actually faring really, really well. There are currently 11 XRP ETFs that have been filed with the SEC, which also represents a list of pretty big names. So Bitwise, 21 Shares, Franklin Templeton, and Grayscale. There was some confusion when the Bitwise crypto ETF that includes XRP was halted. But as of this recording, it does look like things are moving forward once again. Furthermore, there was also speculation that BlackRock is considering jumping into this particular race. Many do consider Nate Geraci to be an expert in the field of ETFs. And finally, here in terms of news and updates, this is probably the most recent development. Ripple has secured a pretty major US patent, which covers trust-based instant cross-border payments. And so obviously this positions XRP very well as pretty much an entire alternative to SWIFT altogether, because of course it offers faster cross-border transactions. So you could pick and choose among these which is the most important, but pretty much irrefutably, there is a lot going on. There's plenty that is happening at the XRP camp, and Ripple has a lot to celebrate as of late. If everything falls into place, or even if just most of these developments work out in their favor, it's going to have a seriously positive impact on the price of XRP. As you have seen these last few days and these last few weeks, we've been talking about slowly unveiling a new project that we're very proud of here at Altcoin Buzz. Check out the link in the description below. We're inviting all of our viewers to try it, to check it out. Once again, you can find the link and participate in the description below. So, if we're talking about buying 1,000 XRP tokens, just keep in mind that the price of XRP has continued to grow. We're up 40% or just under 40% in the last 3 months, and things are looking pretty good. It wasn't that long ago, within the last couple of weeks, that we saw a now new all-time high of $3.65. So that's been nice, a long time coming, certainly. Right now, we're down a little bit from that at $3.18 as I record. But slowly but surely, XRP is outgrowing kind of the cheap coin factor. Certainly, it's no longer a fraction of a dollar or just a few pennies. It's, kind of occupying a different status right now, just psychologically speaking, that can be important. And so obviously getting your hands on 1,000 XRP at this time is going to cost $3,180. Now, the immediate expectation is that the price of XRP is going to keep moving as we continue into this bull market and bull cycle. And so arguably, and I think most likely, getting that 1,000 XRP is only going to become more expensive in the short to medium term. And to better illustrate the point that I'm making, we'd only have to go back 9 months to show that at that time it would only cost $500 to acquire those 1,000 XRP. So $500 about 9 months ago, and nearly $3,200 today. That's just an example of the difference here and how things are changing. So of course, this begs the question, how much will these 1,000 XRP be worth in 2026 and beyond? Let's crunch some numbers. This Altcoin Buzz Spotlight video is sponsored by CoinEx, which is one of the best exchanges that perhaps you haven't heard of. Just like Gate.io or MEXC, they offer a lot of coins, but more importantly, they offer the high quality coins that you actually want. Starting today for a limited time, you can lock your CoinEx native token, CET, or DeFi staking token, NFTAI, on the exchange and earn part of a 24 million NFTAI prize pool. It starts at only 100 CET, or 6,000 NFTAI, a little more than $5 and $8 respectively. Then you can qualify for a piece of this pool. The locking period is between the 28th and 31st of July, and you can get your rewards from the 1st through the 5th of August. So take advantage of the CoinEx NFTAI prize pool today. Start by setting up your account on CoinEx and earn your part of this prize pool. Check out the link in the description of this video for more details and information. So, what will 1000 XRP be worth? What will that look like in 2026? Obviously, there are a lot of price predictions flying around. Let's take a closer look at these quantitatively, and I will also just give my point of view as far as what I think is realistic, because you do have to be cautious here. And realistic, I think that's important too. In their enthusiasm, God bless them, the XRP army can sometimes go a bit overboard with their predictions. And we just also need to consider the current market cap of XRP, which is big. It's nearly $200 billion. And that affects, of course, how much room there is to wiggle, how much room there is to grow. So a realistic price scenario, let's say $5 for early 2026, that I think is quite reasonable. 1000 XRP at $5 a piece is going to be worth $5,000. However, there's also lots of talk about the $7 to $10 price range. And just for the sake of convenience here, let's consider $10. It's a nice round number. That obviously would make 1000 XRP worth $10,000. That's still possible, although it looks like you're starting to stretch it now just a little bit. Another price target here is $26.60. That would make 1000 XRP worth $26,600. Probably not in early 2026, though. I don't think that's realistic, but you can let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below. This is getting into that more of a long-term price prediction, long-term goal kind of territory. Whatever the case may be, wherever the price of XRP happens to land in the next year or two, I think it's clear, and everybody would agree, that as a project, Ripple is really doing well. It's got the wind in its sails in a lot of different ways. Some of the problems that were persisting, that were nagging, and that were kind of eroding confidence in XRP are all of a sudden no longer a big issue, or at least they're about to be cleared as far as barriers and hurdles. So things are looking really good right now. Any way you slice it, I think it's safe to say XRP is going to get more expensive as time goes by in the months and years ahead. Let me know your short, medium, and long-term predictions for XRP in the comments below. Also, be sure to join us on social media, on X and on Discord. You can join us in those discussions by finding the links, clicking them, that you'll find in the description below.